Keanu Reeves' protagonist character in The Matrix knew that the world could be broken down into a series of codes comprised really only of numbers. His title in this universe was literally The One, and his name, Neo, was just about Earth's easiest anagram of that. Similarly, we can assign numbers to objects in the real world in an effort to convey what we're thinking about. Honestly, it's really easy. You've got Highlander, toilet, Triceratops, golf, and justifiable. Right? All makes perfect sense on how numbers could relate to those objects. The game's pretty straightforward. All players are given a hand of cards labeled 1 through 10. They're also given 3 lifelines. The object of the game is to make it so you only have 3 numbers left in your hand. The first person to do this wins the game. And on their turn, a player is given 2 categories that they can choose from. They select one of these categories, and they then look at their hand of cards, specifically at the numbers, because they have to give a one-word clue based on the category that they've given in order to convey what number it is they're thinking of. So an example that I thought was really clever the last time we played this, the clue that was given was food. So the person gave the clue, set down a number face down from their own hand to try to get us to figure out what it was. Now I and a number of other people had no idea what he was talking about. I ended up putting down the number 4, thinking maybe it was just the number of letters in the actual word itself. Really not a very clever solution. But what was clever was the fact that there were 2 other people that knew exactly what he was talking about, and they put down the number 8. And his reason being because what do you do with food? You eat it. And the past tense of eat is 8. 2 people knew exactly what he was talking about. And that's great because in this game, you need to have at least one person get the clue that you're saying so that you can discard your card, but you don't want to make it so everybody at the table knows what you're talking about. And then play continues to the left until one player has 3 numbers left. And those 3 extra cards are lifeline cards because as the game progresses, you're going to get to a point where you don't have all the numbers in your hand. So you have to be very careful in using these lifelines because they'll let you add or subtract a number, or they'll let you copy the answer of someone else that you think might know what the clue giver's talking about. If you're at all aware of other similar clue-giving social deduction games, this is going to sound really familiar. Spyfall and the Chameleon began the crusade to streamline this type of gameplay, while games like Dixit and Mysterium add complexity and confusion. Hintegers proves to be a stripped-down hybrid of those types of games by keeping the ambiguity and freeform creativity of Dixit while maintaining the need for a quick thinking and people reading of the Chameleon. It isn't that any one player is the traitor, but, like Dixit, giving ambiguous enough clues so that as few people as possible get it is vital to winning. Making it so the clue giver has to have at least one player guess correctly mitigates the playing field nicely too. And the biggest negative for this game, and really any type of game like this, is that there's going to be a large chunk of people that just don't like this type of game. Similar to, word games, it's that quick thinking. You have to come up with a clue, you have to come up with a clever idea, and some people just aren't good at it, or don't enjoy it, or don't see the value in it. And if you don't like that, you really won't like this game, because as far as theme goes, there is none. Unlike a game like Mysterium or Dixit, where you've got at least pretty art to look at, this isn't here. All you have is a deck of cards in numerous colors with a bunch of numbers on them. I really appreciate having a no-frills game like this. There can be a little bit of frustration if you've run out of the types of cards that are being played, because every time you guess something correctly, you have fewer cards to put down as answers in future rounds. Now sure, that's sort of a keep-up mechanic because the better you're doing, the harder it is for you later on in the game. But I can see how that would be frustrating, especially if you end up using all of your lifeline cards that you have in the game, because once you use them, even if you're incorrect, you lose them. You've only got 3. If you use all 3 of those in the beginning and you don't manage to get rid of any cards, you're kind of stuck. Now, Hintegers isn't some grand sweeping new idea. Rather, it's an old idea that's given sort of a fresh update. It's a minimalistic approach to this genre of game, and it's one that I really, really appreciate because there's very few games that I would actually pull out at a restaurant, especially with a large group of people. This was one I had no problem pulling out at Dairy Queen, and we were able to get in a game with rules explanation within about 30 minutes. There's really not much in this box, just a bunch of cards, and cards that can easily get scuffed up at that. It's something you have to be careful of, but if they do manage to get a little bit scuffed up, it's not the end of the world. It's not a game that's going to completely ruin anything. Now, I love the fact that this can play up to 10. And it can play up to 10 players while still being in a reasonable amount of time, and it really causes people's neurons to fire when they're coming up with clues, when they're coming up with ideas, and they're trying to figure out what their friends are thinking, or what the person that they don't even know, what they might be thinking, or see what the hidden meaning is in the word that's given. And I like that. It's nothing groundbreaking, but for $15, this is something I'm absolutely going to keep around. It comes in a small box, the smallest box that I have for a 10-player game. This is easily a party game that's going to stay in my collection, and at a price point of $15 is something I'm going to recommend to just about anybody that's interested in this genre of games.